Rev up your engines for the Mid-Michigan Biker Podcast with Big E. Proudly sponsored by Christensen Law, where bikers helping engine bikers is more than just a motto. It's our commitment to the biker community. Be sure to tune in and listen to the latest news and biker buzz. And for all your personal injury needs, be sure to contact the Christensen Law team at 248-900-9000. Welcome to the Mid-Michigan Biker Podcast, where the rubber meets the road and the tales of the ride unfold. I'm Big E, your guide on this two-wheeled adventure. Life is short, bikers, so let's get after it. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Mid-Michigan Biker Podcast. In studio, we have Jeremy Knox, and he is with Christensen Law, our sponsor. We also are joined by Larry Reed and Bill Tarrant, and they are from Apex Insurance Services. So you guessed it, this is going to be a very informative episode you don't want to miss. All right, guys, let's start with Jeremy.
All right. Thanks for having me back. I'm like a repeat offender. So this is very cool. And it's good to be here with these gentlemen because, maybe we can...
Gentlemen. I'm sorry, I didn't realize we made you mad already.
And all full disclosure, I really don't know them yet, so I'm going to call them gentlemen until otherwise proven. But yeah, it's good to be here. Appreciate it. So hopefully we'll bridge the gap between, how you purchase the insurance and then kind of the legalities that go with it. And hopefully we can, swim around in that a little bit. So... where do you want to start? You want to start with kind of minimums?
Let's go with start with the minimums and maybe a little bit about what you do down there at Christensen Law.
Sure.
Up there, actually, in Traverse City.
Well, I'm in Traverse City.
They don't have an office up there yet.
Not yet.
You haven't talked them into it?
I'm working on it. Yeah.
I thought we were a lot closer.
I got to get Dave Christensen out about this time of year when the leaves are changing.
There you go.
It's beautiful. And
stop by,
roads
check
are
out the studio, and
have him ride his bike up. All right, so. What I do at Christensen Law is I'm the intake attorney. So when you call the office at 248-900-9000, you'll get an intake specialist. If the intake specialist is somehow stumped or doesn't understand something, they will consult with me, and we'll kind of talk through. I'll get on the phone with the person calling and explain the legalities of their case, if they have a case, what they can do, their options. So that's what I do, and then if it's a good case, we'll sign it up, and then we'll start assisting in the process to get the case moving, and either get the case resolved or move it to a litigation team. And so that's in a nutshell what I do. So with regard to insurance, and we have the experts here with me too, so hopefully we'll be able to get a lot figured out. But essentially. In Michigan, motorcyclists specifically are required to carry what's called a liability coverage, and that's if they cause an accident that results in death or bodily injury. There's a statute cite to it that I won't bore you with, but essentially you should carry a $250-$500 policy, but you can go as low as $50 and $100. What that means is $50,000 in liability coverage per person and up to $100,000 if several people are hurt or killed. So what that means is you are insulated for $50,000 per person, and if there's 2 or 3 people injured in an accident, then you're covered up to $100,000. That doesn't seem like a good amount, but that's what the minimum, the law requires you to carry. You should also, you are required to carry $10,000 to cover what's called property damage. So you're insulated for $10,000 in any property damage that you cause. So one of the things that's different from automobiles is that no fault insurance, meaning like PIP coverage or medical bills and some other claims, is actually not required for motorcycles. Motorcycles are excluded because they're not considered motor vehicles. So one of the things that we recommend, and that, obviously the insurance experts will also talk about, is that you do have the option of purchasing first-party medical benefits to cover medical bills. And they can be purchased in increments of $5,000. So why that's important, and we can get kind of more into the details of it, is if for some reason the car that's involved in the accident doesn't have insurance or has a capped policy, then you are going to be insulated. Or if it's just a single motorcycle accident, you just lose control and drop your bike and you're injured, you are going to have some medical benefits there where normally your health insurance would have to cover the cost of that. Other coverages that we recommend that are not required by the law are what's called uninsured motorists and underinsured motorists. Uninsured motorists is if the car that is at fault in the accident, for some reason, either one in the four, 25% of the people driving just don't have insurance on their car. You can actually look to your own policy to compensate for bodily injury. It's highly recommended to have that because, like I said, you're looking at a 25% chance that the person at fault doesn't have insurance. And then there's also something underinsured motorist coverage. So it's UIM. And what that means is that if for some reason the person that is at fault for the accident, the auto driver that's at fault for the accident, has a $50,000 liability policy, and you're really injured, which most likely if a car hits you on a motorcycle, you're going to be, you can carry a policy of underinsured motorist coverage for about $250,000. What that means is you'll get another $200,000 in bodily injury coverage. And so that's an important thing to look into as well. So that's, kind of the gist of it. There's some other nuances and things that we can get into, but, just keep in mind, you're required to have a 5,100 policy, and you're required to carry $10,000 in property damage. But having said that, obviously, we would want you to have more as attorneys looking at cases with injuries, and I think that the insurance experts would tend to agree with that.
So that's the reason with the coverage that he's talking about. So we got into insurance. I'm Bill, by the way, and we got into insurance. I started about 14, and the one thing I never wanted to deal with was like Obamacare, marketplace insurance. And I liked selling group, I liked selling life insurance, I liked doing other stuff. But we noticed people didn't understand the Obamacare. They didn't understand marketplace. So we started delving into that just to help out our customers. Well, while we were doing that, we also discovered that Michigan had those PIP changes that came along. And now I can get rid of my PIP on my vehicle. Some carriers will cover you. If you're at a big, large employer where there's something called self-insured, you can buy I as an employer, if I'm IBM or some big company out there, I can buy a policy where I'm self-insured, where I cover all of my employees' medical expenses because it's cheaper than paying premium to a fully insured carrier. Well, they're not required to be first line during an auto accident. Well, then Larry and I both ride minimum 10,000 miles apiece. This is the first national trip that we're heading to. We're actually flying down to a trip, so don't be a hater. We're actually flying down. Because it's a big insurance season. I can't afford to take 7 days away for a 4-day road trip. So we're actually renting and we're going down to Texas. But when you're looking at other state laws, when you're looking at these different things, we started talking about medical or motorcycle insurance. No, we never recommend that you get rid of your PIP. You need that unlimited medical. I sell for one of the green carriers in Michigan, and they specifically state if you're in an accident, they will send you a waiver that says, hey, we'll cover you for this. Yep, you're in policy. Yep, we're good. We'll pay the bills. But If you seek litigation of any kind and you receive any judgment that is entitled medical, you give that to us.
Ah.
You give that to us. So they are taking first line when that. Well, then we got into the motorcycle stuff, and there were so many questions. I started looking at my policy. Larry looked at his. Our wives both ride. They're looking at their policies, and we started talking through this. And it's like, no, we've got to go out and educate. We were at Blessing of the Bikes. We were right down. We were next to a bait. Christensen Law was across the street from us on that alleyway. Yep. And as we're sitting there, I just had a bait letter that really laid out a lot of what you just said about these are what you have to have. But also in there, a bait put out an article that said, you cannot get unlimited medical in Michigan. This is not PIP coverage, folks. There's something different. So as we're trying to just hand out a free flyer, as we're trying to just hand out information, sure, we're always marketing. Attorneys come on here to market because we hope that we're the one that you call when you need it. But I'm not here now to sell insurance. I'm here just to educate. People do not know. Overwhelmingly, everybody told me, I say, oh, no, my agent took care of it. I've got unlimited medical on my motorcycle. No, you don't. You really, really don't. When you think of true medical, you don't. There's one of the big carriers out there. We won't mention any names, but there's a really large motorcycle carrier out there. And when you go online and you shop for their insurance, you get to pick those amounts that you're talking about. So we love to see the 500 liability. I'm at least covered for $500,000. If I cause damage, everything's gotten more expensive. But whatever my limitation is on liability, normally that's what the carrier will allow me to buy up to that same amount in underinsured and underinsured. So that's a really big. So I need to protect the other guy for $500,000 in order to protect myself for $500,000 if the other person involved is underinsured or uninsured. But then the other caveat is there's something for medical payments on there. And this large carrier zeroes it out. And you just shopped your insurance online and you're like, man, I just saved all this money. You did. I can make an insurance policy as cheap as you want. You might not like the coverages I leave you with, but I can make it cheap as hell, man. It's great.
That same carrier actually zeroes out underinsured and uninsured
too.
Also.
Oh, wow.
So when you go in and you say, oh, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to save some money. And you're right, you will. You go in and you put in your name and your date of birth and your license number, and you check the level of coverage you want, and you start scrolling down, uninsured, underinsured, medical, and you scroll down to the bottom, and you see that nice, pretty low number at the bottom, and then click here to sign up and be in effect today. People don't understand what that uninsured and underinsured and medical does for you. That's the big thing.
That medical payment side that's on there, that's the one that's going to cover you. That's not payments to anybody else. That's covering you for your injuries from that. Now, like I said, your medical insurance a lot of times will give you something to say, yep, we're going to pick up. We're going to cover your medical bills for you. However, if you get any money in a lawsuit, anything else, then that's got to come back to us if it's labeled for medical. The downside of that is I'm a paramedic. I'm still a paramedic to this day. Larry's a paramedic. Larry's wife's a paramedic and RN, and now she dispatches too. And my wife is an EMT. All my people are paramedics or EMTs or family members of that. And when we started looking at this, we come across so many people that are in motorcycle accidents that once you're healed, we've done so much to get people healed and live longer and everything else. Once you're healed, 20 years from now, man, I just broke my pelvis in an a motorcycle accident. I have now scar tissue there. It's going to put pressure on nerves. I'm going to have inflammation there. It's called arthritis. This is where the eventual pain comes through. This may debilitate me 20 years from now. So now I have to have home modifications. Guess who's not on the hook for that? Your medical insurance.
Or your homeowners.
Or your homeowner's insurance. Guess who would be on the hook for that? If you had auto insurance or medical payments on your motorcycle, they're still on the hook for that. They're still on the hook. You were insured during that accident if it's attributable. I also work as a medical examiner investigator. And I had someone who was wheelchair bound and was one of my first cases decades ago. And I called the doc up and said, hey, I've got this guy who's Wheelchair confined, he passed, looks like natural causes. I'm not going to send him for an autopsy. Why is he in a wheelchair? He actually fell from a scaffolding, the family said. Send it for an autopsy. How come? Because they probably sued where he fell from the scaffolding and there was an insurance policy. And if his death now is attributed back to that, there's a claim to be made. It's things that we don't even think about, that extra protection. I'm not trying to make us into a litigious society, but it's the fact of the matter is, I mean, we're going to get sued for something and we need to be protected. You just need to understand your insurance to know that you are protected. If your checkbook is happy, if my checkbook's happy, my wife is happy, and if my wife's happy, I'm happy.
Right.
Last thing you want to do is be insurance rich and cash poor. But you got to understand, if you make the decision not to add that extra medical, at least you're informed. So that's been our drive to get out here.
I like to take it a step further. So you're involved in that accident, and God forbid, you're stuck in a wheelchair after that accident. Okay, they've sent you home from Mary Free Bed. You come wheeling up to the house. Most steps have 3 or 4 houses, or houses have 3 or 4 steps to get into that house.
You can say that again.
No, I can't. So most doors, 32 inches wide. Wheelchair's not going to get through it.
Nope.
So you're now sitting here in your front yard going, how do I get in my house? Again, your health insurance isn't going to pay. Your homeowner's insurance isn't going to pay. So what's the wife do? She hops on Facebook and puts together a GoFundMe. Bill uses this spaghetti dinner analogy that, God, that's
how many times have you guys went to a spaghetti dinner because somebody was diagnosed with cancer?
Oh,
They were
yeah.
in a bad accident. I love spaghetti.
Well, yeah.
I got great recipes. Last time I was on a webcam, I gave a great marinara recipe. I mean, I love spaghetti. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fat guy, but I can't eat jarred spaghetti sauce one more time for a benefit.
Overcooked noodles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, that's why we do this, because I've personally seen we show up to a house, somebody on a cot in our ambulance that's post motorcycle accident, and we've got to try to finagle our cot into the house and pick him up and carry him into the house. Okay, wheelchair's going to be here tomorrow, and I'm looking around going, so how are you going to get in that bathroom? Because again, it's a 32-inch bathroom door.
Right.
His wife's not big enough to, those home modifications, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars. If you can cook, well, if most houses aren't built, the counters aren't at a level where somebody in a wheelchair.
Their stoves aren't set up for it.
Right.
As I have an in-law who is in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Now imagine
So-
you're just on a walker. So
Yeah.
there's activities of daily living that you have to be able to accomplish. You need to be able to toilet yourself.
Harley.
You need to be able to transfer yourself to a wheelchair, mobility, all of these things. Well, one of them is, so you don't have a spouse. You don't have any family members. So you take the walker because you're recovered from a broken hip from a motorcycle accident. You get it into the kitchen. You grab a plate because somebody prepared a meal for you. You get it into the microwave. Now, how do you use a walker and get that plate back to some place that you can eat it, get back to your... There's a lot of other mobility
Oh, yeah.
things. That's where those insurance carriers do come in, and it becomes very helpful for you. And I'm just telling you right now, my daughter-in-law is a new EMT, and she was working her other job, and she was called out to a motorcycle accident just the other day. And she's giving me the story, and I mean, it's catastrophic. It is catastrophic. We don't see motorcycle accidents really that aren't, if there's any speed involved, that are not catastrophic.
Right.
It's just the way it is. But we're also doing more advances in science that we've ever done. People are living through some of these things, whether they wanted to or not. And now, how do I care for them? How do what I tell people is, he touched on it before during his thing, if you involve another vehicle, then we've involved that catastrophic, we've involved the PIP, we've involved. But if you're just in a motorcycle accident, I'll tell you, as my opinion, the choice my wife and I have made, if I know I'm going down and it's just me, nobody else did it, I took a curve too fast, there was gravel I didn't see, whatever, somebody's lawn clippings, that seems to be the big
Oh, yeah.
you see.
Yeah. Grass clippings.
Grass clippings. So if I'm going down, I'm aiming for a vehicle. I'm gonna let my wife and I have already made the decision that if ever we're doing it, we both know there's going to be a hell of a long recovery. You end up in burn centers, they're debriding skin. It's not pretty. None of us dress for the slide. We dress to look cool when we're out there on our motorcycles and everything else, putting that wind therapy in. But I'm going to lay it down, but I'm going to involve a car. I'm aiming for a car because I want that extra medical. We're going to be hurt. We're going to, but we're going to need that extra money too.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the point that needs to be really understood is you need to have an involved automobile when you're on a motorcycle. Otherwise, there's no chance of getting unlimited medical coverage, which everyone should carry on their auto. So, along the same lines of those home modifications. So in my business, we see kind of the worst of the worst because we see, missing limbs, we see paralysis, we see TBIs. And so to get through that, you do have to distance yourself a little bit and say, this is part of the business. Like if I put personal into, every case, I mean, obviously my heart's into it, my mind's into it, but it's hard sometimes. So you sort of have to step outside and go, okay, this is a job. I got to, get as much money as I can for this person. That's my job. But that's really all I can do. I mean, we don't, I can't knock on the FL driver's door and punch him in the face, as much as you sometimes want to. The family definitely does.
Yeah.
But, you have to remove yourself from that. It's not the society that we're in. So you have to just say, okay, there's insurance money. I have to go get it. And then counsel them the best you can. But nothing pisses me off more when I go meet a client and they're in the family room with a bedpan and they can't get into their bathroom. And I'm looking at them saying, well, what's going on here? Why aren't you, talking to the insurance company, getting a home modification to get the doorway wide so you can go to the bathroom?
Right.
So you sleep in a bed instead of sleeping on, this makeshift, cot that you have. Oh, they told me they wouldn't do anything. That's when, something happens in my mind and I go, okay, now it's on.
Yeah.
And so that would, be one of those cases where I go, okay, I understand that negligence happens. No one intends to hurt anyone.
Right.
Usually, 99% of the time, there's no one that intends to hurt somebody. It's negligence. I mean, you don't mean to run a stop sign. You missed it. And so it happens, and we have insurance, and obviously you don't want that to happen, but we get the case when it happens. But when an insurance company does that just, I mean, you talk about motivation. I mean, I go home at night and go, how am I going to get these guys? And our track record, my personal track record, is very good on a case like that because I just become relentless. And so the home mods are, one of those things where if you have that lifelong benefit, lifelong medicals on the PIP, yeah, you're right. 20 years from now, because of the injury that you had, it could manifest as something different. And all of a sudden, I can't walk anymore.
Can we record that? Not that you've never told me I'm right. My wife says I'm never right. Look at somebody told me I was
you can
right.
play it back.
But you're right. Now what happens?
A soundbite or something for you.
What happens though is the insurance the company will get a doctor that goes, no, that's related to something else, and now you got a war.
Right. We've seen some of those where if you think about it. So in my past, I did some when I came to Northern Michigan, I did some some skilled nursing, and one of those was resulting from a motorcycle accident. Well, he's quadriplegic, and what we don't realize is the layperson. We've heard in science class that there's this diaphragm that moves that makes us breathe. No, your chest muscles do too. They're about 40% of that pressure that's created to inhale. Well, if you're a quad, if you can't move any of your arms and legs, most likely all those muscles are paralyzed in your chest too. So this is the one that I helped them argue, and they got their attorney to get involved and everything else when I explained it from my perspective. Because of that, they can't cough. He couldn't even sneeze. He didn't have enough pressure to do that. Because of that, he was more susceptible to pneumonia. Because he can't clear that, and he had numerous pneumonia admissions. And it's like, okay, why is that? It is resulting from that motorcycle accident where somebody hit.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's resulting from. And they did. You're right. They tried pushing it off. No, this isn't because of that trauma. No, it is. This is the resulting medical from that trauma. traumatic brain injuries. You're not creating the chemicals or the neural pathways to tell your body to do certain things. You're now susceptible to a wide range of more medical issues that are out there. Again, yes, we're an insurance agency. We have 3 agencies, by the way, a shameless plug. Houghton Lake, Baldwin, and Gladwin, Michigan, but we service all of Michigan. It's not just to sell insurance. Now it's to educate. I just don't, we're coming to the end of the riding season. Not for me, it won't go away till January, but
Right.
and then just for a couple of days, but depending on our weather. But people got to be educated about these things. There's another little caveat that if you ride without a helmet, you're going to know better than I am. The law says you have to carry 20,000.
20,000.
So if you buy one of
You have
those
to have an
carriers-
additional rider for 20,000 if you ride without a helmet.
If you buy one of those carriers where they get rid of those medical payments, you ain't got it. You do not have it.
And I'll
Right.
tell you right now, at that point, and most insurance companies or their attorneys are going to say, "Oh, well, you weren't even meeting the state minimum requirements, so hey, you know what? We got nothing here."
Right.
And there's a waiver on our website. You saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure. And I think I said something last time, and I might have said it when Aaron Dunn was here. But if you're riding without a helmet and you don't have that protection, that's just another option for the insurance company to say, "No, sorry,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
sorry, you were riding without a helmet. You're a dumbass."
And you weren't meeting the state minimum
Right.
requirements, so therefore you weren't riding legally.
Right.
So you were outside of the law. Oh, look at our policy says if you're breaking the law, you're not covered.
Right.
Yeah, there's a judge in Wayne Circuit. Shout out to Judge Allen that he used to call it the Willy Wonka defense, and it's you remember in Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder was like, subsection E on page 75,
Yeah.
subsection F2(3) says you lose, you get nothing. Good day,
Right.
sir. And he used to call it the Willy Wonka defense because there was like one line in there that said, if you don't do this, you don't get coverage. And so, he's a good judge, but there are judges that'll go black letter on the contract and say sorry, and then you're looking at appeals and
Right.
fights. And I want to ask you guys, so you guys are brokers, right? I mean, do you have different insurance companies that you can broker to?
We're independent.
Okay.
On all facets of our business. So we stay independent because of that reason. I don't care who's going to offer me the biggest bonus. I care that it's the right carrier for you. I got all the coverages I need, and the price is affordable for
So
you.
you guys can shop it to like 3,
Yeah.
4, 5 different. So I mean, it's going to plug you guys, but why wouldn't someone call a broker?
Do you remember when, so we're all here old enough, remember when internet really started getting big, and then all of a sudden I can shop my insurance?
Yeah.
I don't have to take time from my day to go in. That's about the beginning of my insurance career. So really that's about the 14, 15 era when we really started seeing people gravitate towards that shopping online. Now all of a sudden some people have had enough claims, enough bad experience, not that it's a bad way to go. If you're in a time crunch, you need to buy your insurance, you've got your page from your past carrier, you go on and you match it all up. I'm not saying your past guy did you justice or lady, they might have done something wrong, but if you do that, it's not really a bad way to go. The problem is now with society, we've seen I want somebody I can sit across from. I want a face there that says, if you come to our office, I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to tell you that this is the coverage we feel you need and it's why. And if you don't take the coverage we want and you want something less, that's fine. I'll go ahead. If you're on your auto insurance, you tell me you don't want PIP. I think you're an idiot. You're going to save $500 over 12 months. I get it. I'm gonna bind this coverage for you, but you're gonna sign right here that I told you that you're an idiot. That I explained
Right.
to you. If you tell me, I watched you ride in on your motorcycle and you had no helmet on, and I'm like, hey, you're not buying any medical. You got to have 20,000. Oh, I always wear a helmet. What? You're going to sign this
Yeah.
waiver that I told you.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be part of your litigation when something happens.
Yeah.
I want to do everything possible to avoid being a party to your litigation. I'm more than willing to give you everything you need to go after your rightful benefits on your insurance. I just don't want to be part of that. So yeah, and we do shop it around because of that. That's why I talk about some of the different carriers. Hey, I really want you to shop me with this carrier. That's great, but you can only buy 20,000 in medical. So I'm just going to let you know I'm also going to shop this one, and this one.
Yeah,
And that's why.
you also have to look at what autos they have in their household, because that on my handy dandy chart here in priority, it's possible your auto might be the payer on some medical.
Exactly.
So that's important. I think if I was a what we call a lay person, meaning someone that's not an insurance industry person or not an attorney, I think what I would recommend they do is call a broker like you guys, and then kind of shop the prices, talk to someone that actually, has their best interests in mind, rather than a computer. It's like, save $20 if you don't do this. And they people are like, yeah, that sounds good. But they don't know what they have.
And a lot of those commercials you're seeing on TV are the companies that we're still using.
Yeah.
We're still using a lot of those companies. I can tell you who I represent. I won't talk about motorcycle and stuff, but I mean, we do everything from Progressive, Wolverine. There's a derivative of Liberty Mutual. There's Michigan Insurance. I mean, Allstate, AAA, Dairyland. I mean, we have a ton of carriers that we deal with. It's not brand shopping anymore.
Right.
You're not buying Jordache jeans and Nike tennis shoes. Boy, I just dated myself.
Yes, you did.
We're not buying brand. We're buying, this is the right thing to make sure that I'm protected.
Yeah. And then I think, once they have that part, then, maybe do reach out to an attorney. You can call us at 248-900-9000. And then we would look at it.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah.
And then we would look at it and say, okay, yeah, I mean, coverages look good. You're fully insured as much as you can be. Or, hey, you might want to think about this. Call your broker back and say, hey, what about this? And then I think that's all you really need to do. I think you're covered at that point because you've done everything you're supposed to do.
There's other things that you can look at out there. There are other types of insurance, but if you really insure with your baseline and exhaust your possibilities, yep, I buy 120. I cap it right when allowed. I have $1 million of coverage. So, I have if I cause that liability, that my aggregate's $1 million. So if I have a medical condition, I'm leaving the roadway, I smash into somebody's house, that causes a lamp to fall over, the tree falls. What is that one commercial? Mayhem?
Yeah.
Yes.
All of a sudden,
Those are great commercials.
Those are. By the way, we may represent that carrier. And by the way, the wire falls into the pool, and there's 10 people in the pool swimming, and then now they're all dead because I electrocuted them. I'm going to want that $1 million of coverage.
Right.
It's not going to be enough.
No.
It's not going to be enough. So I max out all of those things. That's what's right for me. You're riding 3,000, 5,000 miles a year. You've got a great safety record. You've got everything else. I'm going to still push you on that medical just to make sure, because somebody pulled out in front of you. They weren't involved. You can try to attribute it to that vehicle, but nobody else saw the vehicle.
Yeah, they're gone.
You were responding. So, and we talked about that before we started, as long as it was caused by another vehicle, but nobody has that plate number, nobody has anything else, and now you're wrecked. You're wrecked, and your family they lost your income. They have, if it's under your medical, how many of you guys insured yourself with medical and you have high deductibles? They're not waived because you're in a motorcycle accident unless you have things to cover them.
Right.
There are other insurances you can get with those. We do sell those. However, if I can just get you to buy the baseline to make sure that you're properly insured, and we do that at 888-858-APEX. See, I can do that.
Oh, he's good too.
Yeah, again, that's 888-858-APEX.
And you call that number, you're going to talk to, more than likely, good chance you're going to get one of the owners.
Yes.
There are 4 owners of our agency. That it rings the 4 owners first. If we're busy, we can't help you, we're going to send it to another one of our agents that can help you. So I want to talk price real quick.
Okay.
So Big E sent me a declaration page from an older policy.
Policy, yep.
That was
original policy from my wife's first bike.
Yep. 2009 Sporty.
Yep.
Right? So
I think it's 2000. Was it the 2009 Sporty or the 2000?
It was the
2009
Sporty.
Softail. 2009 would have been a Softail.
Okay. Sorry.
Yep.
So
that was my original.
Just so we're sure, he's not a a Harley guy.
Yeah,
really
I
is
know.
depressing for me. I looked at all the
I
people
think I
I
gave
could
him some
partner-
crap about it last time too.
I looked at all the people I could partner with, and I show up. We're both in it. No,
Your bike, what bike do you have sitting in my
both,
driveway?
I can shut it. I can shut his mic off.
we're both in the same club together, and we're all paramedics, doctors, nurses.
You can go ahead and plug the
Yeah,
club.
we're both in EMS Road Docs. Larry's actually current national president. He was our local president. I was his VP. We've known each other before those stages. I helped with our 501c3 work or C10 work and some other stuff. And we came through it and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, this is kind of the club I want to be part of. I can hang my hat on this. You know what? We're big on fundraising, PTSD for emergency responders, everything else. This is the stuff I can hang my hat on. And the more I show up, I'm getting ragged on because I'm the only one driving a Harley. And I'm like, what other club can you go to? Right? Feel it, baby?
What?
Feel it? So where else are you going to go that you're going to get ragged on? I've got these guys over there playing Pocahontas over on the side there because they ride. Now, actually, what he wants to tell you is, wait a minute, you're not riding a Harley right now. Your Harley is parked. You're actually riding an Indian.
Oh,
Thank you.
That's always number two. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can't have a Harley, you should have an Indian, or
That's right.
maybe vice
That's
versa.
really
I don't
the
know.
only way that you're truly going to have it.
See,
you
I'm
get that?
a little more old
Did you
school.
catch that?
I'm on what I call a pre-Indian, a victory.
A
Yeah.
victory. I'm one of our guys, OG. He started out with a victory actually. Now he's on his second Harley.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you grow up and you understand what
Yeah,
you want,
yeah.
it is.
It's
I'm selling that Indian, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a beautiful cheap. Last year they did the cheap vintage, so that 21, and it's just too short. And I can put all the money into extending it. I can put all this money into. I can just ride my Harley.
Right. Yeah.
You were going to talk prices now, right?
And-
What's that?
You're done. You're going to talk prices now.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. We're gonna talk prices.
So I put everything in. I compared two carriers.
Okay.
One is probably one of the number one motorcycle carriers in the state of Michigan. That's all they do is motorcycle insurance. I put you in at $250,000, $500,000 for bodily injury, property damage, uninsured, underinsured. Now, this carrier, the maximum you can get on medical payments is $20,000.
That's it.
That's it. You can go less, but that doesn't even satisfy the state minimum for helmet requirements.
Which
Right.
is why they'll go to 20.
Right.
Just,
Right.
So that policy is going to cost you, if you pay it in full, day one, $424.12 for the year. If you make payments on it, they always tack a little bit on. It puts you up to $514 for the year. So again, that to me that's your bare minimum coverage. If you come to me and says, "Hey, you know what? I just bought a motorcycle. I need something to make me even remotely legal." Okay, yep. And now I can't open the attachments for the other ones.
Yeah. So at that point, if you do insist on that policy, you're going to sign the idiot waiver.
You're gonna sign the idiot waiver.
Yeah.
And I respect you. You have to live within your financial means.
Oh yeah.
And all due respect to you that you're trying not to take on too much so you're not paying another bill. I just have to do my due diligence to explain to you that, hey, you're not.
And there probably isn't actually a whole lot more money going out of your pocket to bump up some coverages just a little bit.
One, my wife will tell you, she's like, when things got tight, the first thing to go was our insurance. First thing she'd stop paying was our insurance. It really was life insurance.
Oh yeah.
Life insurance first. Auto insurance never. Homeowners insurance got skipped a couple times.
Right.
It got tight when we were we've been married for 33 years now. But when it got tight, man, those were the things to go. And then I go back and look at it. It's like, man, I could have skipped like one soda a day or one pack of cigarettes a week, and this wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like the cost of a nice dinner,
Yeah.
I mean, just do it.
Right.
You know, the
Just eat
150
macaroni and cheese and hot dogs one night.
No,
I mean,
just instead of going and getting that steak, just go get a burger that day.
Yeah.
You know? You'll be all right.
and it's probably, I mean, it's got to be pretty
So
cheap to step up your coverage.
So here's another. This is a different carrier.
Okay.
This one's gonna put you at $100,000 of medical coverage.
Medical. So
Same.
5 times.
5 times the amount. Yeah.
$642 for the year.
Yeah.
$130 more.
So $130, which, okay, that sounds a lot, but if you're breaking it down a month,
Right.
it's really not that much.
$11 a month.
Yeah.
Which is now what a pack of cigarettes cost.
Probably, I don't know.
Yeah, I
but
don't know. I don't smoke
I
anymore,
mean-
but
Well, you're pretty good at numbers. You got to think about doing like taxes or
I
something.
should become an accountant.
Yes. So now I went to the max. Oh, wrong page. Sorry. I got 3 different quotes on here.
Yeah, I could add a little. Hold on.
Yeah.
Should
Little
have
sound bite for the.
Here we go. So to bump that unlimited, nope.
And I rag on him about it, but I did absolutely no help in quoting him
Yeah.
for this morning.
Well, and I mean, we talked weeks ago,
Right.
and I kind of slacked on getting him a declaration page,
I
and
think I threw it.
I'm like-
my glasses broke
I'm like,
last night.
crap,
Well,
I got to give him a declaration page.
I spent out.
So I just,
Yesterday was.
I knew where that one was right off the top of my head,
Yeah.
so I'm just like, it's an old one, but it should work.
Easy peasy.
Well, yesterday was a Road Docs 911 ride.
Right.
So I spent all day out there yesterday on that one, and this morning going, okay, I got to get these done for this podcast today.
Well, he's looking
Did,
for that.
did that go over well?
Yeah. It was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful ride. I can't tell you how happy I was. We saw some new faces on the ride.
That's always good.
Yeah, it really was. A shout out to another club.
Oh, Blacktop Saints.
Thanks to Blacktop Saints that actually
Oh.
came out and helped us do a little bit of blocking.
Oh, nice.
And it was great.
Yep.
So it worked out well.
Nice.
That we were able to get through that, and great dinner. And that's down in McCosta or in Big Rapids. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Pulled pork and
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. This one table, and if this group is listening to your podcast, I hope they are. But there's this one table that pretty much won everything.
Oh,
Like
we had
50-50s, everything else. I think there was some voodoo involved there with some shit.
on our ride for Area 24 Special Olympics, Warriors Oath, they cleaned up.
Yeah.
The one, Chris Roberts, his wife, I mean, she was winning everything.
Yeah.
She was winning everything.
Yeah.
It was.
I'm sure you've seen him around. Big, tall guy. He's with Bait Region 8, Russian, originally from Russia.
Okay.
Yeah, it was his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
swear to
their
God, she was like walking out, arms full. Yeah.
Hope,
All right,
hope
so
you drove a car.
Yeah. So I finally found the right page. So to bump that up to $120,000 of medical coverage,
Of medical.
$1,100 for the year.
So we doubled it from the original one, from that 500 just to get covered. It was 514. We doubled it, plus
Right.
a little bit. But what are you taking away from it? What are you getting with that coverage?
Right.
And again, we're going to shop you, like he said, we're going to shop you with every carrier.
And still, I mean, it's what, $100 a month
Yep.
for peace of mind.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, and go to and thank you for that plug. Like call a broker, and I'll shout out to every independent agent out there. You call your local independent agent. I don't care who it is. You call our offices at 888-858-2739. But you can call our offices, and we're going to run a quote for you. But the difference of us running a quote for you, and the difference is most likely your local little insurance agent there. They're not keeping you, marketing you, and giving you 27 calls. I made the mistake before I got insurance years ago. You call that number and it's like, do you need insurance? And you fill out that online thing or whatever. And now they sell those leads to people.
Mhm.
You now have 57 calls. My wife is still getting calls a decade and a half later. Are you shopping for your auto insurance? No.
yeah,
I own an agency.
I get for health insurance. It's like,
Yeah.
because for a very short period of time after I left Coke, I didn't have insurance. So
Yeah.
I went on the marketplace
Yeah.
and I had to.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, another advantage for, brokers like yourselves, is that, you get that personal touch in that, like if you do an online application and you put an address that you're moving from in a month,
Yeah.
and this more pertains to autos, but then you don't update and you get into an accident, turns out you're not living at that address, they may pull the F word, the fraud word on you and say, hey, you were trying to get a better rate
Yep.
living in a different zip code.
Yeah.
No, actually I wasn't. I just forgot to update you. Where you guys are going to know that person,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to check on things. You're going to check on things like you're going to know, family members in the household. Who's turning 14, 15, 16 years old in the household?
Right.
You got to get them on your policy because they're going to start doing driver's training.
And that personal touch is really what
Yeah.
we like. I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen people that, my wife was in the hospital and I'm walking her down the hallway. She had pancreatitis and I hear, Billy. And I look over and there's a gentleman I've known for years who's in the hospital. I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? I actually had cancer. So I saw him like a week later and I'm like, hey, remember I'm your insurance agent, right? Yep. I jumped on. You haven't filed any claims yet. He had a cancer insurance through Aflac.
Oh.
He's like, I don't know how, Bill. I don't know how. And I'm like, all right. We stopped over to his house. His wife, he's since passed. God rest his soul. But his wife said you can share it. He received $26,000 in that cancer insurance. He never would have accessed the only
Wouldn't even
reason
known
he
it.
did
Right.
is I saw him at Halloween a week later at the football field where they did the Halloween special. He was sitting in a fire truck because he couldn't get out in the cold. And I jumped in just to see how he was doing and everything. And yeah, oh man, I love that personal touch. But your local agent, us, we're going to see you at the Walmart. We're going to see you at the
Right.
grocery store. And the last thing I want is for you looking over the rack and saying, hey, asshole, what did you just do to me? Why did you do this? Why is my rate? No, I want to be able to stand behind it and keep my shoulders back
Right.
and head held high because I did you justice.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
when we started to go into the what's called the property and casualty, the home, auto, all that. We talked about it. We actually could have what they call captive. So that's your Farm Bureau, your AAA. A lot of times we see one specific brand out in front of an agency. We could have went that route, but then we said no. We want to push this back. Let's wait a little while. Let's find where we can actually stay independent. That's going to give us access to multiple carriers. So unfortunately, some people, they call their insurance agent and the person may be a great guy. And I ran into a couple times and said, hey, this is the best I can get you. And it is because they only offer one product. Farm Bureau, there are people out there that Farm Bureau is a great fit for. There are other people that Farm Bureau isn't necessarily a great fit, but they can sell you the product. But we can look at, again, I think we're up to about 20 different carriers.
Yeah. Wow.
That we can shop.
Yeah, a high percentage of the cases that I see that go into litigation are the online application cases, and they're not, the insurance company's not paying for some reason because they filled out the form wrong. They signed a form. They didn't disclose every family member that was there. An uncle moved in a month later. They didn't disclose he was there. He happened to be driving the car that day. It's things like that. So if you have the independent broker and you have that personal touch, you can, inform them. You're going to see them. And I just think that the way, the last thing you want to be doing if there's an injury or there's something going on is go into litigation for a year and a half and, have no bills paid and then have the stress of having to go do a deposition. So do everything foundational wise from the very beginning. Do it correctly. Get an independent broker like these gentlemen and, talk to an attorney. And then, it'll take, a few hours of your day, but the result will be you won't later on have to deal with a year and a half of litigation against an insurance company.
And it sounds silly, but along that lines, if you buy something, call your insurance agent. Call your insurance agent. I may have a lot of firearms. I was looking at opening a business at one time. I didn't. But on a standard policy for homeowners, you have $250,000 in this, or $2,500, excuse me, $2,500, and it's limited to $500 per item. Now that comes standard on a lot of the home policies like that. Well, that doesn't cover it.
No.
You pick up a trailer, you pick up something, and just call your agent. Just call them. We're not going to drive your rates up. we're trying to make sure that you don't have a catastrophic loss and come to us and it's like, you never told me you bought that. You're not protected.
Right.
So
It's not covered.
If you buy something, call us.
Another thing that I just suggested to one of our clients the other day. You've got a video camera right here.
Mm-hmm.
Walk around your house. Pull up that camera. Start walking around your house. Because how much crap do you have in your house that when your house burns down, you're not going to think about till a year later?
Right.
Save it to a cloud, Google Cloud, your Google Drive, whatever. That way it's not lost in a fire.
Right.
And when something catastrophic happens, tornado, house fire, whatever, you can log in and room by room.
This is my stuff.
Start getting all the paper, writing it down. I mean, what's it going to cost to replace your guitar there, Eric?
Who knows? $500 just for the guitar, with whatever the signature adds to it.
Exactly.
And there's two of them in here,
Right, exactly. But so there's those type of things that you're just going to go. You're not a year and a half later. You can go, oh shit. You know what? We never told the insurance company about.
Right. Well, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Especially with the cloud.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're talking homeowners, if you go and you get a pit bull or a trampoline, you might want to call up your independent broker and say, hey.
Or a swimming pool.
Let them try to talk you out of it in a swimming pool. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Very good. I guess my takeaway on this is don't do the whole University of YouTube when you're trying to buy insurance. Don't go online and try to do it yourself.
No.
Go find an independent broker and talk to them. And
let us work for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a video out there on YouTube that'll tell you how to remove your own appendix.
There probably is.
However,
I don't know.
I don't think it's a good idea.
Right.
I certainly wouldn't jump in and try to take litigation against somebody without pulling an attorney in.
Right.
You could do a lot of things. I learned how to fix a stove.
Oh,
I did not know where that little thing was. Sorry to the appliance repair people. I didn't call somebody for that one. But when it's serious like this, when it's your life, you got
I'm guessing that most people that do go online to buy their insurance shouldn't. They don't know what they're buying.
Right. Exactly.
So if you go to somebody that's what they do, they're going to point you in the right direction. They're going to help you out. They're going to do what's best for you.
And dude, in my previous life, I've been to the point where it was eating ramen. If you come to us and say, hey, you know what? I just bought a bike. It's my first bike, my second bike. But man, I can't, I'm working 2 jobs. I can barely get by, but I want to ride. All right, we're going to throw you, you tell me what you can afford. We're going to find you the maximum coverage that we can get you in your budget. Like Bill said, we're going to have you sign a form that says, hey, you know what? We really suggest that you should have had this much coverage.
Right.
We'll find you that budget plan. But we're also, when it renews in a year, we're going to say, hey, you know what? What's changed? Can you afford an extra $50 a year? We want to bump this coverage up for you so something happens.
Right.
Yeah, and with the change in the law too, I'll have agents call me and ask a question, and it'll stump me sometimes because it's like, that's the old law would have been okay. Let me think about that, and I'll go in and have to research it. I brought in the post amendment no fault priority chart that I have to refer to sometimes because sometimes you run down the list of priorities and you get down and you're like, oh, I have to do an application to the Michigan Assigned Claims Plan to get, this client medical benefits because we ran through the 4 or 5 priorities before and they weren't sticking. So I only have a year to do that. So, my job requires me to, know, all the PIP laws that have changed, requires me to know the difference between a motorcycle and an auto. And it's not easy. I've been doing this 23 years. I mean, I get stumped. It's called the practice of law. I mean, you're always practicing, you're always learning. And if someone goes, well, I know everything, they're an idiot because you don't. You can't know everything.
Right.
There's different scenarios. A law changes. I mean, there was that whole, attendant care thing that was going on, and they finally, made the decision, fortunately to help people that need it, and they grandfathered in anyone that was, before the amendment, the new law didn't apply, thank God, because that could have been a
We see a
complete
lot
disaster.
of those payments coming in from those insurance companies too for that. But that's that person that got sent home, and you can't do this by yourself.
Right.
If you're solo, you got to have that insurance company there.
Right.
So.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming in.
I hope it was helpful.
I hope it. Yeah.
Come out just to sell. I mean, I shamelessly plugged our phone number. If you need somebody, give us a call. If you just want to talk, it costs you nothing to call our agency or probably a million other agencies out there. It costs us nothing for us to quote it. We're not going to charge you. I've got 9 agents.
Right.
4 of them are the owners. 1 of them is my daughter. So there's 5 of them that are all family. 1 of us are going to quote it for you. We're to give you your options. If you don't take it, I'm not sending you a bill for it. We make our money from the insurance companies. It's not from you.
Right.
So, yeah, just do your due diligence.
So go ahead and plug it again.
Have somebody, 888-858-APEX, which is 2739.
2739.
If you have any legal issues, questions, or you need a lawyer, 248-900-9000. Ask for Jeremy at Christensen Law.
There you go, bikers.
All right. Thanks for having us, Eric.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
No,
Yeah,
thanks for
thanks
coming
for
out, guys. Oh, I just took Jeremy right out of the equation. Just like that. Boom. And I killed my mouse. Oh, all right.
All right.
Well, bikers, that's all we got. Life is short, so get after it. Thanks for listening to the Mid-Michigan Biker Podcast.